Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Rodgon video. Today's topic is going to be something that has interested you guys, and you guys send me messages all the time, and you guys want to learn this from me, and it's about facial expressions. We're gonna start off and we're just going to draw a few of them, and I'm going to show you guys kind of how I break it down. If you guys take into consideration the drawing faces videos that I did, then you guys can get an idea of how I start my faces, and this is how I would progress into creating dynamic or really cool facial expressions. So let us begin. Alright, the first thing that we need is to draw a face. We're just going to draw the outline of a face. It's going to be super simple face. Just going to set it up like this. Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. Right? No discernible characteristics. Just a very simple human face. Or human head, not a face. Alright, so from this point on, we are going to set up and establish roughly how big we're going to want the eyes. We're going to set up a rough idea of where the nose is going to be. We're going to set up a rough idea where the mouth is going to be, and a rough idea of where the eyebrows will be. Okay? So now we're going to take this. We're going to play around with just facial expressions. So we're going to take this, I'm going to copy it, paste it, and move it to the side. And we're going to merge this together with the one underneath. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Edit, copy, paste. I don't think these menu options pop up whenever I'm recording. So just trust that I'm doing that. So edit, copy, paste. Okay. Now we're going to just make them fit. This is not necessarily part of the instructional of the video. So now we have 8 faces. And so we're going to come up with 8 facial expressions. Okay. So we're going to name them. That way we know exactly which ones we're going to make. So we're going to make happy, sad, angry, let's see, confused. This one will be like surprised. This will be furious. This will be sleepy. And this one will be like just a super silly face. Okay? So now that we have our template, we're just going to reduce the opacity of these. And we're going to use that as a template. Alright, so we make a new layer and put it on top of it. So now we're going to go and we're going to start making facial expressions. So the first one's happy. So to make a happy face, normally you have to take into consideration for a lot of these a couple different things. Eyebrows are going to be super important for all of these. The way the cheeks push into the eyes is going to make a lot of difference, because it means that it's going to, change the way the cheeks, like how the eye is shaped. If the cheek is pushing up, you're going to see a little bit less of the eye. Then the nose is probably the least expressive part, but if you're angry, your nostrils flare up, and then the mouth. The mouth, I'm going to try to keep it nice and simple so you guys don't have to worry too much about, the depth and stuff like that. I'll try to simplify it, because getting all the details in the mouth, if you put too much detail, it just looks weird. So I'm gonna show you guys the little tricks that I do, and maybe that way it'll help you guys with your own designs. So let's walk you through the process. Not particularly have this scripted either. I believe these videos tend to be a little bit better when I don't have a script that I'm going by. So I'm just gonna start, okay? So happy. When you're happy, you have super high-raised eyebrows because your eyes are normally really big. Your eyes tend to be really open. Your eyes tend to be, you know, super open, like yay! Your nose doesn't really change too much, so we're just going to keep it like that. And then the mouth. It can go anywhere from happy, or let's actually make a detailed mouth so you guys can see. So happy, yay! And as you can see, when I'm drawing the mouth, I keep everything incredibly simplified. In this case, it starts off with just the top of the lines for the upper lip. These are the indications of where the cheeks end up digging into. So if the cheek was here, the mouth would end up digging a little bit into it, so you show a little bit of overlap, so it adds a little bit of depth. Now you can keep it closed and just show like a bottom lip if it's a boy, you know, upper lip, lower lip if it's a girl. But if you want to go into like an open mouth, remember that it doesn't end up being strictly from here, because the mouth actually goes into the cheek a little bit. So it would be a little bit past the crease. Then what I do with the teeth is I normally mark where the front teeth are and then try to go back in a curve so it looks like there's a little bit of depth to the mouth. That would be the top teeth. If you wanted to make the bottom, it would be the same thing. You can start with the bottom and then just go back. Then you can make an indication of the tongue by just filling in the sides. So let's see. Let's keep it to about this level of detail. I wouldn't go in and do all the lines for the teeth unless I want it to be a super detailed, you know, design. So normally I keep it to about this level of detail. Make sure you have your eyelids, which would be, you know, relatively small because you have your eyes really open. And a very small detail that actually adds a lot of, you know, a lot of information is over your eyebrows. You have a little muscle. Feel where your muscle is right there, where the connection with the eye hole and where your brow is. That little bone creates little creases. You know, so whenever you're very happy, it wouldn't be too distinguishable because maybe you'd mark it a little bit up here, but not too much. It's going to show up a little bit more whenever you go into the other ones. Thick to thin lines will distinguish if there's a shadow underneath. So I made it thicker right here on the bottom, so it shows like there's a shadow casting. If I just did it straight, it would look a little bit flat. By adding the shadow, it just automatically makes it look like there's a little bit of depth in there. So that could be happy. It could also be super happy if we bring in the cheeks, right? That could be another type of happy. A third type of happy could just be literally with the eyes closed, like yay! And even with this, if you bring the cheeks up and just make an indication of where the cheeks are, you can make it even more happy. So, alright, that will be happy. Now sad. Sad, normally when you're sad, maybe you're sniffling, so maybe we raise one of the nostrils up a little bit. Normally you just don't make super big facial expressions for being sad. Normally it's just like, Can be really, really sad and just even drag it down, exaggerate it. But let's keep it like this for now. Eyebrows, normally they're angled in, like this. And a little trick that I like to do with eyebrows, I mentioned it in the how to draw faces, but I like to make sure that I think about them as one single entity, and then I break them down. So, for example, with this one, it was like just that. It was just like a cross, so they're even on both sides. It could have been like this too. You know, it's a different type of expression, and then it would have been like that. So as long as you keep them nice in the same path, you can make a lot of different facial expressions, and you don't have to worry too much about, making sure everything looks perfect or it's going to look out of place. Because it will. As long as you follow that same path, they'll fall into place. So with being really sad, we're going to do something like this. So now you can just bring in your eyebrows and the upper lids. And then there's a couple different ways you can go sad. You can either just do it like this, just mark the upper part, or you can go even sadder by marking a little bit of the lower lid, or you can go incredibly sad and then just smart eyebrows coming down, still the eyelid, bottom lid a little bit. But I like, more than any other sadness, I like it when it's super, like almost Bambi eyes, like incredibly sad. So I bring the upper eyelid, lower eyelid, and then just make the eye super big. And then if you give it a little bit of a highlight, it just looks super, super, super sad. Now, if you wanted to make the mouth a little more expressive, you can always... Remember, sad is down, so normally the lines lead down. When it's happy, your lines lead up. So this would be more like no. Let's keep it like that. Okay, so that'll be sad. Now, angry. Angry is one of my favorite facial expressions to draw, because you can go like, we're gonna go furious over here, which will be like super comic bookish, like super angry. So for angry, the eyebrows normally come down, and then that's where the brow lines play a part. Upper eyelid, inner eye. Your eye normally tends to be a little bit smaller because they're not dilated. Both your nostrils are normally flared up, and they're normally curled in too. And you end up getting all these little lines because you're just bunching everything up in your face. So now, the face, depending on how angry you are, it could be just mildly upset. It could be the same face as angry or sad, or you can go super angry. Remember, these are the lines for the cheeks. They connect with your line, from your ends of your nose, and they normally connect to your chin too. So if you keep those in mind, you can add lines without adding a lot of age. So it could be like that. You can take those same lines and then do the same thing with the teeth. So, in and then back. In and then back. Right? Lower lip. So now we have angry. Obviously, anger can be shown in a couple different ways as well. Personally, I like, doing open eye angry, but if you really, really want it, like closed eye angry, it'd be like, Arr, Arr. And then normally if you close your eyes, you're not really opening your mouth for some reason. I don't know why, but it would be more like this, like just putting your teeth together. Maybe the eyebrows would even be lower. It's like it's literally just pointing down, like all those little lines. Alright, so that's angry. Confused. Well, with confused, it's normally like a Jim Carrey. I always think of Jim Carrey when I look at confused. When he lifts his eyebrows one way, and then the other one goes the other way, and then they just go back and forth. It's all about the eyebrows with confused. So one going up, one going down. The eyes don't really change much. Maybe you're like, huh? One of them is a little bit closed, so a little bit of the brow line again. Like, what are you talking about? Maybe the nose is like off to the side, as well as the lips, like what? The mouth is slightly angled to one side. That could be one facial expression for confused. More extreme one, let's see, let's go back a little bit. Could be literally like, what the hell just happened? The nose would be about the same. I like scrunching it to the side with confused. Like, what? Or, if you bring it down even more, you're like, what? What the hell? You can also, confused can be a couple different ways, like, what? Or, That's kind of the noise. I don't even, like, what's going on here? So, that's a couple different ways to make a confused face. Surprised, it's very similar to happy, only the mouth would change. When you're surprised, you're like, oh, you have your mouth open, everything. So let's make a similar face to the happy. Let's see, remember, happy is pointing upwards, so big arches. So it could be happy surprise, like, oh my God. Like, you bought me a pony? Or it could be not necessarily a happy surprise, like, what? Saying there's pizza in the break room? What? So that could be a couple different ways. It really does depend on, a little bit of variety. Like, the eyes can stay relatively the same. It's all about the eyebrows and the mouth and the size of the eyes. I mean, in cartooning at least, that's going to be your best one, your best bet. Oh, Furious. this is a really fun one to do, but you got to play around the eyebrow lines. You remember like the little lines from the eyebrows? That plays a big role here. And you also normally change that like way the eyes work to be able to get that like super angry look. You end up drawing a lot of the lines that are underneath the eyes. Oh, that works with the surprise one too. Like you're really tired and you're like, oh, what? Okay, so let's get to it. Normally your nose is just like with angry. It's going to be scrunched up, even more so because you're furious, right? And then the eyebrows. We're going to really, really emphasize those eyebrows. Like the angle has to be extreme. And you know, you're stressing your face so much that all those little lines just start popping up. And this is where all the anatomy of the face actually helps. You know, if you know where the muscles and where all the lines contract and everything, it helps you simplify it so you can make it easy on yourself. Now, the eyes. I'm going to keep the same, like, it's still going to be the same type of eyes, you know, but I'm going to change them slightly because then the upper eyelid would just be squished down, and then you'd have your upper eyelid, your lower eyelid, and then you'd get all these lines underneath that just give it like that demonic look to it. And then you have super little eyes because you're just focused and you're about to beat up whoever. Little tiny lines on the side just, you know, give more emphasis to the whites of the eye. And normally, if you're furious, you can go a couple different ways. It can be like, not squiggly like that. You know, it can be like just super grumpy, and then the sides of the lips would just be popping in like that. Okay, that could be one way. You can take that same shape and then just have the mouth open, and then just have the teeth. No, we're not gonna add lines. You know, but the mouth would just be super wide open, and then you'd be able to see everything. And you see how this would go back into the chin? So when you would draw this, since you are playing with overlapping shapes, in this case you would just maybe draw the bottom lip, right? And then go with the chin, it would just go into behind the lower lip. So you wouldn't even draw the chin. Then the lines from the nose, and then just, I mean, you can add more lines if you know where to add them, but that would be what furious would be like for me. Then sleepy. Sleepy, normally your eyebrows, they're like going up, you know, not necessarily sad, you know, but the eyebrows are higher. You're trying to focus, but your eyelids are just closing. So you have your eyelids. Well, let's start with the eye first. Eyelid, the eyes would just be like drooping. You'd see a little bit more of the bags under the eyes. And then the eyelids would, if you make the eyelids bigger, the sleepier you're gonna look. You know, the nose would be pretty standard. Nothing much would change. And then the mouth. Ugh. Or either like it just sags down because you're so tired. What do they do in like animes? Like, or it could just be like, ugh. You know, that would be sleepy. You can even make it sleepier. Let's see if we can push it even harder. By curling the eyebrows, or the upper eyelid, even down even more so, and getting that angle to them. Yeah, that just looks sleepier. Like, come on, dude. I'm just trying to sleep. And this still retains that line. So let's make it even. Nah, I like it more high up. Like, for sleepy, I like it more like this. Like just the little mouth. And then silly. Well, silly, normally, well, it can be pretty much anything, really. But with silliness, I like to play a little bit more off the actual features. So maybe the nose is a little bit flared. Maybe the mouth is a little bit to the side. Like, ah. And then the teeth would stay in the same spot, remember, like it's just the lips that are moving. And maybe the tongue sticking out, this one. Yeah. Thighs, I'd like to make sure that they're nice and expressive. So normally I like to make them big, and maybe they're looking in different ways. Or just like super close, like wow. But, you know, that's not really an expression that you're gonna draw too much. I mean, unless you really want to make sure that the person thinks that they're bonkers or like insane or something like that. But you kind of just go a little bit different than the other ones. And I'm pretty sure once you get, no, all of them, no, once you get the basic happy, sad, angry, confused, surprised, furious, sleepy, and, you know, this one's going to come out really easy. Now, all these can be done in 3/4 views, and normally you can get a little bit more depth, you know, but this is a good place to start. Try to get at least these 8 different looks. Try to, you know, switch it up here and there so you can get an idea of what, you know, different looks are going to look like. You know, so if you're going to make happy faces, just make a bunch of happy faces, but make them different. You know, maybe they're happy, but they have the eyebrow down. You know, maybe that's like cocky, and you end up coming up with a or maybe, yeah, it's just you can make different facial expressions out of those facial expressions. So it's just a matter of playing around, figuring out what you like, and then going from there, and then just figuring it out. I mean, it all comes from practice. It comes from going out and drawing from actual pictures. And there's a bunch of books. You know, I think there's one called 1001 Facial Expressions. And that one's amazing if you just want to practice faces. It shows the same person in several different facial expressions. And it's a good way to go about it. So I'm going to wrap it up for this. And I hope that I actually taught you guys a little bit of, you know, how I think about facial expressions and how I go about it. This is normally my basic face, and this is how I draw for the most part. Like if I need to break down a character, it doesn't even, I mean, it could be that, or, you know, that same facial expression could go into being an animal, that same facial expression can be given to a monster, or let's make a skeleton. No, not a skeleton. Let's make a monster. Oh, we'll make this one into a monster. All right. So. Now it could be given to pretty much anything. You can translate all these facial expressions into whatever you guys feel like it. You know, once you actually understand how the face works, you guys can take that same style and just apply it to whatever you guys feel like. It's a good way to start and get comfortable with it. I hope this helps you guys. Next video, hopefully soon, I'm going to go to a thing called CTNX, which is the Cartoon Animation Expo in Burbank next week. I'm going to try to get some footage, and I signed up for a ton of seminars that will give me a lot of information that I can then pass on to you guys in a nice and easily acceptable way. So I'm very psyched for that. I'm going to try to get as many input from other people and, you know, try to get footage of people's portfolios and stuff like that so you guys can understand what their each respective school was asking, you know, for exiting and what they, you know, have experienced so far. But this will be an end to this one. So, thank you guys so much for always being here, and we finally passed the 1,000 followers. So I'm gonna have to find something nice to do for you guys, cause you know, I don't do this for the money, and I don't do this for any other reason than to make sure that I can help people out there that are starting off and learning how to do these things. You know, when I was in school, there was very, very, very few, you know, people that helped me out. Teachers were helpful, but they had to help 30 other students, and I wasn't the best student. So, you know, I didn't really get much help from my teachers. So why I do this and why I take the time to make videos and, you know, try to post and try to answer as many people as I can with their questions on Instagram is for that same reason. Because I wish that I would have had something like this. I wish that I would have had a mentor. And even though I'm not necessarily a mentor for everybody here, I can at least share a little bit of my knowledge. And hopefully you guys can progress on your own with a little bit of my help in a, you know, nice way, and then you guys can learn some new stuff. So you guys can find me at Rodgon, the artist, on Instagram. I post daily, and I mean, I post a little bit more about my life, and it's more like my diary or journal, because I'm a man. A journal. But, you know, you guys can always go see what I'm up to, see what I'm doing at my design firm job that I do, and you guys can send me a message, say hi, you know, whatever. You guys, thank you again. You guys are amazing. Hope you guys have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you are seeing this. and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.